Wait. I mean, first of all, just look at that shot. The very first frame of the story of the show. It's literally money in the frame, and the whole show is about easy money. It's about money, this desire, greed that these people are driven by. It's so fantastic. I mean, okay, it's not specifically character, but you know, appreciate. Today, I'm going to reveal to you what I believe to be the secret sauce to Squid Game's success. That's a lot of S's. And that is the redeemable character. So, we're going to take a look at the first episode of Squid Game, and more specifically, how over the first 30 minutes of the very first episode, how the show builds a really deep, textured character that would make us want to watch them for 9 whole hours. So after we see the money land on the table, we actually pan up to see a grown man sitting at a table. He then picks up the money and starts to count it, and then asks if this is his allowance. To me, this says so much about the character, and this is his very first line in the show. It shows us that he is still most likely living at home, and that, well, he might be a grown man, but he seems to have a very trivial relationship with money. The fact that he's even asking if it's his allowance really sets us off down a certain path about this particular type of character.
이거 뭐야? 나 주는 거야?
네 오늘 가영이 생일인 건 알지?
The audience are willing to make big leaps of faith, big judgments, if you present them with even the smallest bits of information. And right now, this character is not very likable. This character seems to not really value money, not really value his parents, not really value his daughter. So, I think the filmmakers really spotted that we needed to kind of get an element, get an idea that maybe, just maybe, he might care about something.
그건 좀 그만해, 그리고.
어머, 그릇이나 물에 담가라.
This is our first save the cat moment. Now, for those of you who don't know what a save the cat moment is, it is essentially exactly as it sounds, someone who does something which is kind, to save or do something for someone or some other animal that feels like it is kind. And this actually creates a sense of empathy or sympathy for that character in your audience. This can actually really help pull together a deeper sense of their values, and we're going to see more of that in a little bit. So he steals his own mother's credit card. This really gives us a sense of the extent he's going to go to get money. But we don't quite know why just yet. But the way he steals the credit card is very important. It doesn't feel as though he's malicious, he's trying to hurt his mother. In fact, the way he smiles at the credit card feels more like a mischievous little boy than a man, like a boy in a man's body.
아니, 내 생일 맞는데.
I love this perspective shot from the ATM. It's as if we are the ATM machine and he's trying to get money from us. It also gives us a fantastic perspective on his performance, his character, as he goes through all the emotions of realizing that his PIN has been changed, and when he finally guesses the PIN number, then we get the elation again from that really great wide-angle shot. Throughout this scene though, we get even more moments where his, well, arsehole meter starts to raise again. First of all, he's stolen his mother's credit card. Secondly, he doesn't know his own mother's birthday. I mean, seriously. I mean, how cliched can you get? But it works. It works so well with the character. And then finally, he's only got one chance left with this credit card. If he gets this next try wrong, he will block his mother's credit card. Yet he still goes ahead and does the last try anyway, not knowing for sure if he's actually going to get it right.
야야야야야야, 한 번 더 틀리면 거래 정지야. 생각 잘해 뭐 다른 거 없어?
He was willing to take it all the way to the edge, all the way to the point of failure to try and win. So he is a gambler. He's willing to throw caution to the wind to an extent. And this also gives us a great idea of how he might approach the games later in the series. We immediately jump into a gambling shop, and we see him at the front of a group of gamblers rooting on a horse race. After he loses his bet, we now see him in the line to make his next bet, further reinforcing his gambling addiction. We now see our protagonist win his next bet, and in utter jubilation, he hugs his friend. But he's completely unconcerned about his friend's loss in the very same race. So the arsehole meter is pretty high right now. Yeah, and there's not too much balancing that. So the very next scene is a really great and powerful way to show that he's a more redeemable character. We see him on the phone with his daughter, ecstatic at his win. He's so excited to share his winnings with his daughter, to buy her the best, most lavish meal, most lavish present that evening for her birthday. It's obvious that he wants to give her a fantastic birthday. He wants to share his winnings, and if he were greedy and only doing it for money, he wouldn't have wanted to buy his daughter a nice meal. He would have kept it all for himself.
야, 그런 거 말고 더 비싼 것도 괜찮아. 먹고 싶은 거 있으면 다 적어놔. 어?
However, we can't ever let the gambler enjoy his winnings. So, whilst on the phone to his daughter, the loan sharks arrive.
야, 오랜만이네.
가영아, 아빠 좀 사랑해.
야, 잡아.
So he's lost all his winnings, the money he stole from his mother, and he's promised his daughter a slap-up meal and a present that night.
저기, 선생님. 죄송한데 10,000원만 빌려주시면 안 될까요?
Without hesitation, he's willing to give up his own pride to get some money, to scrape some money together to be able to do at least the bare minimum for his daughter's birthday, showing that he's willing again to give up something of himself for someone else. This is a redeemable feature again. So, the meter's starting to balance off a little bit. We're getting the bad and the good. What's important here is that he is holding his promise to his daughter, even if the meal ends up being a bit lackluster and the present being wholly inappropriate. So now he's on his way home after his daughter's birthday, and we get what is fundamentally one of the strongest scenes in the first episode, and this is when he's approached by the businessman to play a child's game in order to win, or potentially lose, more money. So when the businessman offers him the chance and an advantage of going first in the game, his addiction comes up again. And he says yes, even though he has lost so much, he is willing to gamble again that day. And what's beautiful about this scene is it shows us just how far he's willing to go to win. When he realizes that being slapped removes the money that he owes for losing, he's then completely willing to give up his physical pride in order to have another chance at winning money. So at the end of this fantastic montage, and if you're interested to know a little bit more about that montage, you can check out this episode here. He's happy. He is totally exuberant that he has won all of this money and happily counts it in front of the businessman, which, I mean, to be honest, is a little out of taste. However, we as the audience realize that he's given up a lot, a sense of physical self-worth in order to win money, which ultimately gives us a totally new understanding of the character, a deeper understanding of the depths he will go to win money, given the right pressure points. And these values are what ultimately allows the audience to understand, make him relatable enough that we understand why he chooses to go into a death game to win money. And I'm going to finish up this episode with what's quite possibly the most obvious save the cat moment I have ever seen.
배고파? 응? 자, 이거 봐.
That is the most literal form of saving the cat I have ever seen, but it is so effective because it also gives us a moment to see that he again is willing to share what he has. He's willing to actually give back when he has. So make sure to show your audience what makes your character good and bad. Put your characters in situations where those elements of their persona are going to be revealed. No matter how small, no matter how nuanced that moment might be, it's incredibly important to remember that your audience are so much more sensitive, so much more attuned than you might imagine. And you don't always have to make these things incredibly obvious, like, say, literally saving a cat. I mean, that might be a little on the nose, but it did what it needed to do. It showed us a character that was willing to give. It showed us a character that was ultimately caring. And even though they had so many things which made them not a good person, we now are really enthralled. We are now sold on watching this character for the next 9 hours.